Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on my YouTube channel. And today's topic, I really want to talk about something that has been kind of on my mind now for like a good few months, well basically since the start of the year, and that is kind of detoxing and going away from my phone. And yeah, I want to talk a bit about that because I've spent so much time trying to physically declutter my life in terms of getting rid of stuff and like being a lot more aware, I guess, of the consumption and what I'm buying. But the one area where I think I did and kind of still do overconsume on is my phone, and I am really trying to improve that. So let's kind of get into what I'm doing at the moment. How's it going? How am I feeling? Yeah, because it's officially been a month since I deleted 2 apps and I already feel a lot better for it. So let's, I guess, get into it. So as I just said, it has been a month since I deleted 2 apps, and they are both TikTok and Twitter/X. Although, does anybody actually really call it X? I don't think I ever have heard people call it X. I feel like most people in my life still call it Twitter. Anyway, I've deleted both TikTok and Twitter, which I feel like were the 2 apps that I was using quite a lot. And it's weird to say that I deleted them now a month ago. That's kind of crazy. So what kind of made me get into that decision? Blah, blah. I'm going to be honest. It was only when I really started looking at my screen time and I could see that my screen time was like anywhere between 6 to 10 hours a day. Now, technically, I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, right? And I don't go to bed until like 10. So there is quite a lot of hours in the day. That's like I don't know, 18 hours or something. So technically 10 hours is not, no, 10 hours is not great because that's like half of my day spent on my phone. And I can guarantee you that most of that time was on TikTok with a few other apps like scrolled in. And I was really conscious of that. And at the start of the year, I was like, look, I need to get off my phone a lot more. I need to do something better with my time. Develop a hobby maybe would be quite beneficial. I really focused on it and I set screen limits. So I had a screen limit put in place for the main 4 apps in my opinion, which was Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. There's one that I'm missing. I want to say YouTube. I feel like it can't be YouTube. Which one am I missing? Was it Snapchat? I don't really use Snapchat though. I don't know. Either way, I set screen limits in place. But the only exception I made was TikTok because I knew with that one, I could spend like 4 hours a day on TikTok. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a harder addiction to stop because my brain was so used to absorbing short form content. I upped that to 2 hours. And then I think it was probably like halfway through February or end of February where I actually cut it down from 2 hours to 1 hour. And I actually found that I didn't miss it. There would be the odd day where I would maybe break that screen limit, but I didn't do that very often. It was like one rare day. Maybe I'd had a really bad day or something. But I found that I didn't do it as much as what I thought I was going to do. And then it kind of, like I said, just got to the point about a month ago where I was getting fed up with all of the apps. And even though I had reduced my screen time massively, so that was the other thing that I one of my goals was just to reduce the screen time. And I was kind of aiming for about 4 hours a day. So it could be a little bit over 4 hours or a little bit under, but like 4 hours a day seemed like a healthy-ish mark to set. I mean, eventually I'd quite like to get even lower, but I don't know whether we will. But I thought 4 hours seemed like a good solid number, to be honest with you. Yeah, but like I said, about a month ago, I was just like fed up with all the apps. Like, I don't know, I don't know whether it was Twitter or TikTok, but I went on one of the apps and I was like, I'm just so done with it. So I was like, do you know what? I still want to have some social media because I have friends and stuff that don't know my numbers, that contact me on Instagram and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm going to keep Instagram because it's the main one. I have Snapchat, but I don't go on it. I check it like once every 2 weeks, just in case somebody's messaged me on there. To be honest with you, most of my friends nowadays don't really use Snapchat or know that I don't use Snapchat, so will message me on other platforms. So I probably could delete it. So I probably should delete it, actually, is what I'm learning. Anyway, I kept Instagram and I also kept YouTube, but I'm going to be honest, I wasn't really using YouTube that often. I don't on my phone because I use it more on my iPad. I don't really like my phone for watching long form content. Like, I don't even like watching it like streaming shows on my phone. That was like the one that I kind of didn't think. And then Instagram, like I said, I kept it. And to be honest with you, there's a few things that I like to keep on top with. So like, I'm quite into women's football, so like I like to keep on track on what's happening in the football world, and it kind of is easier to do that on Instagram. I did used to like Twitter, but if I'm being honest, I found it a bit toxic. I do think that the platform has changed quite a bit, and I don't think that's for a good thing, but I think that's a conversation for another day. So I kept Instagram and I have YouTube, so that's the baseline. And ideally I would like, so at the minute I am still probably using my phone anywhere between 3 to like 4 hours a day. Sometimes there'll be a rare day where it gets to 5 hours, depends, because I do use my phone for filming, so like if I'm filming or something, I try not to include that too much in my screen time, because I'm like, technically that doesn't count because I'm not actually on my phone, but it does include it. But equally, I find it pretty impressive sometimes that I can be 4 hours with filming, because then it's like, well, technically I've not used my phone for 4 hours because I've been filming for some of it. Anyway, the point is, my screen time is fairly good nowadays. I feel like it's probably, I mean, there's still like, I have a couple of games on my phone that I still play pretty religiously, but even then I just have a couple of games and I'll probably like delete them soon, to be honest. So it's not going too bad. I will say though, because obviously I have been so kind of ingrained to watching short form content because of TikTok, and I do actually watch Instagram Reels now / YouTube Shorts, and I have to admit I've probably started watching YouTube a lot more since deleting TikTok, but it is something that I am trying to change, because I mean, to be fair, some days I feel like I watch more shorts than I do some, and I guess it just depends what sort of day I'm having. Having said that, I do have a 1 hour limit set in place for Instagram and YouTube, and there's only been like one day I think where I've broken it for Instagram, and that was ironically yesterday as I'm filming this. But it was a very intense day for football, both men and women's, so that's kind of why. Is that an excuse? I also want to say I was probably about 10 minutes over, so it wasn't like I was like, you know, dramatically over, but yeah. Not great. Anyway, so that has been me. I have deleted TikTok and Twitter, and it's been a month. How do I feel about it? To be honest with you, I feel pretty good. I do feel like I've been reading a lot more recently, been writing a lot more. I feel like I've been a lot more productive because of it, and I think that's really good. And I don't miss it. Like, this is the thing, right? The first time that I'd ever tried a social media detox and I tried to delete TikTok because I knew that was the issue, I actually failed like 2 hours in and I re-downloaded it. But this time round, I don't know whether it's because I just knew that I needed to get off these platforms, but I've not found it hard at all. Like, there's not been any time that I've been like, oh, I really could actually re-download it. I think the only thing that I do miss ever so slightly about Twitter is that sort of community that was there with women's football that I followed quite a lot. So I do miss that sometimes, but not enough to make me want to go and re-download it, which I think is quite a positive thing. I don't miss it, and I do realise now that like excess phone consumption is so bad for your brain, and I think I always knew that, but like I didn't really realise the effects, I guess, of it until I actually kind of took a step back. And like, I went for a walk earlier, and obviously I took a couple of pictures, but that was it. Like, I was listening to a podcast and I had podcasts in my ears, took a couple of pictures, and then I didn't use my phone for a good like an hour and a half. I was just walking, and I think that's really healthy. I think that's a good thing to do. Yeah, I definitely encourage a social media detox, and like I said, you don't have to necessarily do it fully, but I think being able to like recognize it is really important. I think you need, and it's hard because I think it's so easy to doom scroll. It's so easy to just mindlessly scroll. And I used to be so bad at it on TikTok. And my mum used to be like, what did you do today? I'd be like, I don't know, scrolled on TikTok, watched loads of other things. And I will say, like, social media is not a completely bad thing. Like, I learned a few things off of social media, so it's not 100% a bad thing, but I think I really needed a refresh. And that's the other thing as well, like, I'm actually finding with my Instagram a bit more is that I need to start following people that are actually positive and kind of are going in the life direction that I want to go in, because I think that's something that I'm kind of still struggling with a bit, is following the right people. Because I mean, I have detoxed quite a lot, but I hate watching like the typical influencers that like getting gifted all this stuff and like all of this malarkey, and I just think it's, I don't know, it's just not relatable to me and where I am right now. But all in all, I would say it's not been hard for me to get off of these two social medias. Like, I've not found it difficult at all, and I think maybe it's just because I'm doing other stuff now. Like I said, I'm reading a lot more and all the rest of it, so maybe that's why I feel a bit better. Who knows? I guess my advice, because I mean, social media is like an addiction, okay? It is so easy, and that's why, like, with the amount of young people now, I was watching a really interesting video talking about the lack of like online kid spaces nowadays because they're just on social media, and I just don't think that's healthy at all. And maybe that's a whole separate debate, but I just don't, like, if I had TikTok from that, like, I think there's like 7 and 8-year-olds nowadays that are using social media and TikTok and stuff. I wouldn't like to imagine the sort of person I would be. Do you know what I mean? If I was on social media that young. Like, I only joined Instagram when I was 16, which is quite late for my generation anyway. I don't think social media is good if you're following the right people and if you consume it in a small amount. But I think as soon as you start to like engage with typical influencers and like the wrong form of content and media, I think that's when you get a problem. But it's really hard, isn't it, to know who is the best to follow online nowadays. And I do wish there was more places for kids to go to that isn't just like social media, because social media is such a scary place, you know. And don't get me wrong, like, I suppose the kids places of like Moshi Monsters and all that used to like probably have bad people on there, but I feel like it was a lot more monitored than social media. Social media is kind of like a wildfire, isn't it? But anyway, I'm rambling. I just think there should be more to protect kids nowadays. Anyway, I guess my point is that, like, taking a step back, it's really made me recognise that too much social media is really bad for your mental health, and equally it's just bad for like your brain. I was spending so much time comparing myself to other people, and don't get me wrong, I still do, and that's why Instagram is a little bit of a curse. But yeah. I do feel like I'm a bit more productive now that I've deleted it, but I don't want this video to be too preachy and like blah blah blah, because I know it's easier said than done, if that makes sense. I guess the last thing that I want to end this video on is, if you're thinking about doing it, how can you do it as well? And I guess my biggest advice would probably be, if you're thinking about doing it, do it gradually, because like I said, social media is such an addiction that if you went cold turkey, I think that is probably where you are most likely to fail, because your brain will be like, whoa. So my tip is maybe a couple of weeks before you want to start trying. I mean, you can do it at any point, to be honest, but just maybe a couple of weeks before you're thinking about it, I would reduce your screen limits or set screen limits for each app. So maybe set 2 hours for TikTok or 1 hour for TikTok, and then reduce it further by a week. Like, in theory, I should probably reduce my YouTube and Instagram time now, because I still have them set for an hour, so I should probably reduce it to half an hour, but I haven't done that yet, so maybe that'll be my next decrease. But yeah, that would be my biggest tip. Don't go cold turkey, because I think that's probably where you're most likely to fail. I'm sure some people have succeeded, but I think that's where you're most likely to go wrong. So yeah, and then maybe after a couple of weeks or even a month, like, then delete it off your phone and see how you get on. But yeah, it's officially been a month now, and like I said, I don't miss it. I'm not craving it at all, but we'll see, because I'm bound to re-download it at some point. Eventually the pressure will get to me, I'm sure, and I'll re-download it. But until that day comes, I'm gonna enjoy my brain away from that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to know whether people have done the same. I did see a lot of social media detoxes at one point, but I'm kind of intrigued to see whether people are still doing them and whether they like them. And what tips do you have if you're thinking about doing it, or what tips do you have if you are doing it currently for staying off it and deleting all social media? Because like I said, this is like a half social media detox, because I'm still, I guess, consuming a little bit, but not as much as I was. I'm intrigued to know if you've done it fully, how have you done it, and do you re-download it? Because I think I would, perhaps. Anyway, if you have enjoyed, then please let me know by leaving a like and consider subscribing, and go leave a comment. Like I said, if you have also tried to do a bit of a social media detox, how has that gone for you? Has it gone good or bad? Let me know. And yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. Okay, bye everyone.